Beloved child, today I want your heart to grow deeply still, because I am leading you out of the narrow view of the present and into something far greater. What you are going through is not random, nor is it a collection of meaningless fragments swept along by pain or disappointment. Even on the days when everything within you feels as though it is cracking apart, when circumstances leave the road ahead dim and unclear, in my hands, not a single tear falls in vain, and not a single wound lies outside the plan of redemption. I am gathering even the things you do not yet understand, the stretches of road you once thought were nothing but loss, and weaving them into a work far beyond what you can imagine. Romans 8:28 reminds us that all things work together for good to those who love God. That does not mean everything you experience will feel pleasant, but it does mean that I am powerful enough to make even pain become material through which my glory is revealed in your life. So do not look at the present as a sentence against you. Look at it as the foundation I am quietly laying for something much greater. My child, these are not merely words of comfort meant to soothe a weary day. This is my voice calling deep into your soul, inviting you into a true conversation between a father and his child. There are times when you think I am silent, as though heaven has closed and your prayers are only echoing back into emptiness. But that silence has never meant that I have left you. Just as a teacher remains present in the examination room even when he does not speak, I am still there, watching, sustaining, and seeing every choice you make in your season of testing. It is precisely in those stretches that seem to hold no answer that your faith is being refined and your heart is being taught to cling to me rather than to your emotions. Isaiah 30:15 says, "In quietness and trust shall be your strength." Some miracles do not begin with loud sounds, but with a very deep moment when you no longer have the strength to hold yourself together. And I enter your weakest place with the light of my presence. I am still working, even when your eyes cannot yet see my hand moving. I know how weary you have become. I see the nights when you have struggled to keep your heart from collapsing. I hear even the prayers that break apart in silence, even the sobs you cannot put into words. But you must remember this: what I am preparing is not only to lighten your burden, but also to reveal my power and my mercy to many others. I can turn dry places into springs of water, and barren land into fruitful ground. As Isaiah 43:19 declares, I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. What I do in your life will become a sign that causes others to stop and recognize that this is not the work of human strength alone. They will wonder how someone who has walked through brokenness, who has stood in darkness, could step into such light, peace, and restoration. And the answer will not be found in your talent, nor in your effort, but in my grace, the one who sees what is still buried, the one who works in secret, and the one who can rebuild what others thought had withered forever. So from this day on, I want you to learn to look back on your journey with new eyes. Not every road will be easy, and I do not promise you that there will be no more tears or no more difficult turns to understand. But I do promise you something more certain than any circumstance. I will never leave you. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned. As Isaiah 43:2 says, at every difficult turning, I will light your path. Each time your knees tremble from exhaustion, my hand will lift you up again. When you do not know what to choose, I will place wisdom within your heart, and when you think you are walking alone through the valley, you will gradually realize that every step you take has my footprints beside it. Keep walking in trust, because what I am doing in your life is not as small as you think. It is growing day by day, quietly yet surely, until the moment everything breaks into light and you understand that even the hardest season was never outside my faithful hand. My beloved child, there are works I do not place before everyone's eyes from the very beginning, not because they are small, but because they are too precious to grow amid noise and hasty judgment. I often allow the things that belong to your next season to take shape in the hidden place, like a grain of wheat buried deep in the earth, unseen by anyone, yet quietly absorbing life. In the eyes of the world, that season may look empty, slow, or even pointless. But in that silence, I am doing something very deep. I am causing your roots to hold more firmly, strengthening your heart to endure, and teaching you to stand, not by the praise of people, but by my presence. Then the time will come when what I have planted will break through the heavy soil and rise. And when that happens, no one will be able to call it mere coincidence. As Mark Fire, Suvoktuva, Otioktuva, reminds us, the seed sprouts and grows in ways human beings do not fully understand. So do not lose heart when your life is still in its hidden stage, because today's concealment is only the cradle of tomorrow's revealing. Hold this firmly in your heart: my work is never unfinished. When I begin, I do not abandon it halfway. When I heal, I do not merely patch the surface, but I reach into the deepest places to renew you from the roots upward. Philippians 1:6 reminds you that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the final day. Therefore, you do not need to live defending yourself, nor do you need to grow weary building an image so that others will approve of you. Do not strive in your own strength to prove that you are worthy of what I have promised. The stillness you are walking through is not a sign of failure. Often, it is the very evidence that I am preparing a result so clear that it will speak for itself. What I do in you will not need your embellishment. The fruit of grace will speak louder than every explanation. What comes from my hand always carries a fullness that makes people look again, think again, and acknowledge that a higher hand has intervened in your story. I know there have been people who looked at you with contempt. Some thought you would always remain small. Some believed you would stop halfway, that the limits surrounding you would determine your future forever. Some walked away when they saw you enter a season of weakness, because they only believed in what their eyes could measure. But they did not know that in the very days when you felt most fragile, you were actually being held in my hand. I often choose what the world considers weak to shame what it believes is strong. Just as 1 Corinthians 1:27 says, so your lack of support, your lack of visible status, or your lack of the conditions others think are necessary does not mean you lack a foundation. For if you have me, you already have what matters most. When my appointed time comes, human doubt will not be able to slow the steps of blessing. Those who once questioned will have to ask themselves how a life like yours could be lifted up in a way they cannot explain by ordinary logic. My beloved child, no scheme of man can lock the door I have decided to open, and no human strength can force open what I have chosen to shut. Revelation 3:7 says that when I open, no one can shut, and when I shut, no one can open. So do not fear the whispers and opinions of others. Do not be shaken by unfriendly eyes, and do not think that the opposition around you can stop what I am about to do. People may not like what I give you. They may envy you, argue against it, or try to diminish what is happening, but they will not be able to deny my mark upon your life. What I am about to do will be so clear that every other explanation will seem far too weak. I do not only want to bring you into a new season of joy, I want to use your very transformation to cause many to recognize that I am still alive, still at work, still lifting up the overlooked and making them witnesses to my glory. What is coming is not only meant to fill your hands, but to glorify my name. I will not pour blessing upon you like a few scattered drops, just enough to help you survive the day. I am able to let favor fall like heavy rain after a season of drought, abundant enough that not only you will be touched, but even those around you will receive renewal. Joel 2:23 gives the image of the early rain and the latter rain pouring down at the appointed time. That is often how I work, right on time, in fullness, and beyond the expectations of the human heart. When I give, I do not only intend to meet an immediate need, but also to make your life a flowing stream of blessing to others. What I do for you will not stop with you. The peace I place within your heart will spread outward. The restoration I perform in you will become hope for others. And those who once witnessed the days when you suffered in silence, and then saw the day I raised you up, will understand that this is not a story of luck, but a story of grace. Therefore, what I desire from you right now is not impatience, but a heart that is ready. You do not need to run ahead of me, trying to force my promises to take shape according to your own timetable. Your part is to keep the faith, remain steady in obedience, and continue walking in trust even when you cannot yet see the whole picture. Habakkuk 2:3 reminds you that the vision will come at the appointed time, though it lingers. Wait for it will surely come. Do not let the silence make you think I have forgotten you. Do not let delay convince you that the door has been shut forever. There are things that, if I were to show them all to you now, your heart would not yet be able to bear the weight of their wonder. I am holding them back not because I want you to suffer, but because I know exactly when you will be ready to receive them without losing your humility, your gratitude, and your dependence on me. When I lift you up, recognition will not come because you fought to seize it, but because what I have done in you will be too evident to ignore. And when that day comes, you will understand that every hidden season, every period of waiting, every time you were overlooked, was a thread I used to weave a picture so clear that many will fall silent and recognize this truth. I am the faithful God, the one who does great things in quietness and then reveals them in a way no one can deny. My beloved child, I know there are days when your mind feels like a room filled with noise, one duty after another, one worry after another, visible concerns mixed with burdens you cannot even name, all pressing at once upon your heart until there seems to be no space left inside you to rest. Sometimes your body may be still, yet your mind continues to race, circling through assumptions, pressures, and unanswered questions. That is why today I am calling you to slow down, not so that you will neglect your responsibilities, and not so that you will retreat from the path I have entrusted to you, but so that the deepest part of you may be realigned. There are things I am preparing to place in your hands that cannot be received by a soul in turmoil. The peace, the guidance, and even the blessings I have appointed for you will not remain steady in a heart that is constantly being pulled in 100 different directions. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." In that stillness, you will not lose anything truly necessary. On the contrary, you will begin to see clearly what it is that I truly desire to preserve for you. What I seek from you is not a strained effort to become perfect, nor some extraordinary achievement produced by your own strength. What I am waiting for is a deeply open heart, a place where you honestly say to me, "Lord, prepare my soul before you open a new door." You pray for many things, and I hear them all, but some prayers have not yet been placed into your hands. Not because I have forgotten, but because I love you more than your sense of urgency. If I were to place something good into your hands while your inner life is still scattered, that very gift could weigh you down instead of building you up. Luke 8:15 speaks of those with a noble and good heart who retain the word and, by perseverance, bear fruit. A precious seed cannot grow in soil that has not first been softened. In the same way, I do not rush to give you something great only for you to lose it because you are not yet strong enough to steward it. The slowing down you are experiencing is often not a slammed door, but my merciful hand protecting you from receiving too soon what you long for, yet are not truly ready to cherish. There are seasons when I draw you away from the noisy places, away from where people can easily see you, away from positions where the ego can grow faster than faith. And you may think that you are being pushed behind, but my child, that is not the loss of your place. It is a season of preparation. I bring you into the secret place so that you may learn to know my voice more than the voice of the world, so that the eyes of your spirit may become clear enough to discern what is true from what merely carries an attractive appearance. I want you to know how to stand firm even when no one is cheering for you, to learn how to walk even when you are not being applauded, and to become accustomed to living under my gaze more than under human approval. Matthew 6:6 reminds you to enter into the secret place, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. That place is not a place of poverty or neglect, but the place where I build depth within you. I do not only want to bring you into a bright future, I want you, when that future opens before you, to have enough foundation that the brightness of blessing will not shake you. I do not only want you to touch what is good, I want you to keep it, to live worthy of it, and not to let it pull your heart away from me. Therefore, the focus I am calling you to is not only a matter of thought, but of the entire direction of your heart. There are things the natural eye cannot perceive, but faith can see them. There will be days when I do not lay out every step before you, because I am watching whether your heart will still turn toward me when all around you are things competing for your attention. Hebrews 12:2 teaches you to fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith. That is exactly what I desire to form within you, a gaze that is not scattered, a soul that is not easily swept away by what is glamorous, a heart that knows what truly belongs at the center. For the blessing I am about to give you is not merely an isolated gift for your life today. Within it is a part of my eternal purpose for you. That is why your heart must be made purer, quieter, and more firmly fastened to me. When the inner life is set in its proper order, you will no longer chase after too many things in search of security, because you will know where your true peace comes from. My beloved child, the world often teaches that the busier you are, the more valuable you become, and the more visible you are, the more effective you must be. But in my kingdom, many times, one quiet step of obedience produces more lasting fruit than 100 noisy things displayed in public. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says that there is a time for every matter. So the focus you need is not to take on more and more, but to recognize which work is the one I am assigning you in this season. There are doors you do not need to force open yourself. There are good things, but they are not what I want you to do right now. There are invitations that seem appealing, yet they only leave your soul fragmented. I want you to learn stillness before me, because in that stillness, my voice will become clearer than all the other voices that urge and pressure you. And when you hear me clearly, you will no longer live by the rhythm of confusion, but by the ordered leading that comes from heaven. I have seen everything you have done in secret. I have seen the times you prayed when no one knew. I have seen when you still chose obedience, even though you did not understand why I was leading you down that path. I have seen your perseverance in small things, and I have also seen the moments when you quietly refused what was easy in order to keep your heart from drifting away from me. Those small things reveal that something within you is being gathered, refined, and prepared for more. Zechariah 4:10 reminds you not to despise the day of small beginnings. I am not looking for artificial brilliance in you. I am looking for faithfulness. And when I see that your heart no longer longs for approval the way it once did, when I see that you know how to turn away from voices that pull your spirit into distraction, I know that you are drawing near to readiness. Then the time will come when I pour out upon you goodness beyond what you have imagined. Not to overwhelm you with outward splendor, but to make you understand that every season of preparation has meaning. What I am about to give will not come to exhaust you, but to confirm that a heart prepared in silence is always the place where blessing can remain and bear lasting fruit. My beloved child, there are seasons when I allow you to walk through distorted opinions and incomplete judgments, not because I have abandoned your honor, but because I am rescuing your heart from dependence on human approval. If your path were always affirmed, if every step you took were met with applause, you could easily begin to lean on the agreement of people and forget that I alone am the one who keeps you standing. That is why I let you pass through days of being misunderstood, so that you may seek my face more earnestly, so that in hours of being overlooked you may learn that your true refuge is not found in praise or criticism, but in my presence. Galatians 1:10 reminds you that if you are still trying to please people, you cannot fully walk as one who belongs to me. So do not be afraid when some people do not understand you. Do not let your heart tremble when the path I lead you on does not resemble what others expected. The strongest confirmation of your journey does not lie in voices from outside, but in the fact that I am still with you, still preserving you, and still working within you even when no one else sees it. Precisely because people do not understand, what I do in the end will become all the more unmistakable. If everything around you were easy to predict, if everyone could explain beforehand the outcome I intend to bring about, then that glory would easily be credited to personal ability, to circumstances, or to human strength. But when they see you pass through seasons no one thought you could survive, still keeping your peace under pressure, still standing in the midst of what should have crushed you, and then reaching what lies beyond every expectation, they will no longer be able to call it coincidence. They will have to admit that a hand greater than all others has upheld you. 2 Corinthians 4:7 says that we have this treasure in jars of clay, so that this all-surpassing power may be from God and not from us. That is exactly what I am doing in your life. I do not need you to shine in the way the world understands. I only need you to remain soft and yielded so that my light may shine through your life. Then people will not stop at merely talking about you, but will be compelled to look up to me, because they will know that there are changes that can come only from heaven. So when today you are misunderstood in the eyes of others, overlooked, pushed to the margins, or judged for things they do not truly understand, do not let your heart collapse because of it. Just keep walking in obedience. Do not try to explain too much in order to rescue yourself from every misunderstanding. Do not waste your strength chasing recognition that I never told you to pursue. I do not seek people who are always understood correctly. I seek hearts that trust me enough to remain faithful even when no one understands. And I have set my eyes on you. 1 Samuel 16:7 reminds you that man looks at the outward appearance, but I look at the heart. Therefore, what determines your future is not what people say about you, but what I see in the deepest place within you. As long as your heart is still turned toward me, I can still use your life as evidence that I am alive, that I am still at work, and that I still delight in choosing what the world considers small in order to reveal my greatness. I also know there have been nights when you called out to me with an exhausted heart and seemed to hear nothing except a long silence. There have been mornings when you woke up with the burden still there, when your prayers had not yet brought visible change, and your heart wondered whether I was truly listening. But my child, do not mistake my silence for distance. Do not think that because I have not answered in the way you expected, I have stepped out of your story. Psalm 62:1 says that the soul waits silently for me, for salvation comes from me. My silence is not emptiness, It is the space in which my hand is working at a level deeper than your feelings. Even when you cannot yet see anything changing on the outside, I may still be transforming your heart, touching circumstances that have not yet reached their appointed time to be revealed, and arranging every detail you are not yet in a position to fully see. What I do does not always sound loud, but it is always certain, precise, and full of purpose. Look at how I often work. The most important works rarely begin in noise. A seed does not grow on the surface where everyone can watch it from the very first moment. It breaks open in darkness, takes root in silence, and only then pushes through the soil. The life of a child is also formed in secret before it is brought forth for all to behold. Your life is in a process like that as well. Mark 4:26-27 gives you a glimpse of this truth. The seed sprouts and grows. Though the sower does not fully understand how it happens, there are things I must do in complete stillness so that your heart will not interfere through impatience, so that circumstances will not be pulled out of place by fear, and so that every piece may come into its proper position under my perfect rule. This is not because I want to prolong your trial, but because I am preparing a result deep enough, strong enough, and mature enough to endure. I am shaping your heart, teaching you to live less by outward signs, and leading you into a deeper and more mature relationship, where you trust me, not only when you see my hand, but even when all you hear is the quiet rhythm of my footsteps in the night. I know you are still longing for clear signs, doors flinging open, and specific answers coming quickly enough to steady your heart. But true faith is not built on what the eyes can always see. Hebrews 11:1 reminds us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So when I have not yet spoken the words you want to hear, when I have not yet shown you the full path, it does not mean that I have left your future empty. On the contrary, I may be laying each foundation stone in a way you will only understand after you have passed through it. I want to teach you something even more precious than seeing a miracle happen, to trust me even before the miracle takes shape. When you learn to wait for me in stillness, without rebellion, without giving up, without allowing your heart to be poisoned by doubt, you are being enlarged within so that you can receive something greater than you expected. Lamentation 3:25-26 says that I am good to those who wait for me, and that it is good to wait quietly for my salvation. This is not a call to passive resignation, but an invitation into a faith that stands firmer than feelings. So, do not think that delay is meaningless. I am not stretching out time to wear you down. I am holding back the right moment so that when what I give you arrives, it will not be lacking, crooked, or incomplete. Habakkuk 2:3 reminds you that the vision will come at the appointed time, though it lingers. Wait for it will surely come. There are things that, if I showed them to you in full right now, would overwhelm your heart and rob you of peace. But when the day comes for me to open them, you will look back and realize that not one part was unnecessary, and not one silent season was empty. Everything has been moving toward perfect alignment under my hand. And when the final scattered pieces come together into a complete picture, you will no longer ask why I was silent for so long. You will understand that even in that silence, I was there still upholding you, still arranging all things, still loving you, and still preparing something so unmistakably clear that you will not be able to call it coincidence, but will only bow your head and recognize this is the work of God. My beloved child, do you realize that many of heaven's greatest works do not begin in noise, but in deep silence? Before power was revealed before the crowds, Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray. Mark 1:35 says that very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he got up, went out to a solitary place, and prayed there. That was not by chance. I am teaching you the same spiritual principle. The deepest things I do in you will not be born out of haste, but out of stillness before me. A mind that has come to rest is not only a comfort to the soul, but also the ground where my guidance takes root with clarity. When your heart is constantly restless, it becomes very difficult to discern what is my voice and what is merely fear, pressure, or imagination sweeping you away. But when you learn to be still before me, you begin to see a light that does not come from strained reasoning, but from the peace I place within you. I know that lately you have grown weary from overthinking, from one direction to another, from one possibility to the next. You have tried to work everything out in your mind, as though one more thought might finally reveal the perfect way forward. But the more you try to control everything, the heavier your heart becomes. You are carrying on your shoulders what you were never created to carry alone. Proverbs 5:6 reminds you to trust in me with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge me, and I will direct your paths. You do not need to know the entire road in order to walk safely. What you need is to know that I am holding your hand. True rest does not come when you have solved every problem, but when you are willing to surrender to me the right to be Lord over the things you do not yet understand. When you choose to grow still, you are making a declaration of faith that the future does not rest in the hands of anxiety, but in the hands of the faithful one. Therefore, when everything around you begins to feel too overwhelming, do not choose panic. Choose instead to be still before me. When anxiety comes crashing in like waves, let your breathing slow. Let your heart step back from the noise, and let the deepest part of you become a place where I may dwell more clearly. I do not always come to you through dramatic signs. 1 Kings 19:12 tells of how, after the mighty wind, after the earthquake, and after the fire, there came a gentle whisper. That is often how I touch your heart as well. Not with display, not with clamor, but with power. In that holy stillness, you will recognize that I am still very near. I have not stepped away. I am still speaking, still touching, still arranging all things. It is simply that you need a soul quiet enough to hear. And when you hear my voice in peace, you will stand far firmer than when you chase only outward signs. My beloved child, I also delight in seeing your gratitude for the things I have given you. I have seen the times your eyes filled with tears because a quiet prayer was answered in a way you never expected. I have seen the moments you bowed your head in thanks because, where you once lacked, I provided for you. Where you were weak, I lifted you back to your feet. But today I want you to understand something more. Blessing is never meant to stop at making you rejoice. What I place in your hands always carries within it a greater direction, a wider flow. I do not only want to sustain you, I also want to use your life to sustain others. When I fill your hands, it is not so that you may close them and hold tightly, but so that you may learn to live like a river rather than a stagnant pool. 2 Corinthians 9:11 says that you will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. In my kingdom, blessing is not measured only by what you possess, but also by what you allow to flow out from your hands. So when I fill your cup, do not think only of your own security. Remember those who are dry and weary, the hearts that are exhausted, the lives that need a sign that I still see them and care for them. I am not calling you to build fences around what I have given you. I am calling you to open a way so that that goodness may continue reaching others. Luke 6:38 says, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." This is not only a principle of material generosity, but the heartbeat of a life that understands it receives in order to give. A word of encouragement you speak, a helping hand you offer, a heart that does not close itself off after being healed. All of these can become pathways through which I touch many more people. The more freely you let what I give you keep moving, the more fully you walk in the purpose of blessing. Look back at the times I pulled you out of the depths, healed what seemed beyond repair, and opened doors your own strength could never have opened. Those things were not only answers for your life alone. I am writing my testimony upon your life so that others may see and know that I am still alive, still loving, still intervening, still changing people today just as I have done before. You are a living letter of my faithfulness. And so, do not be afraid when I bring you into wider spaces, greater opportunities, or positions you never imagined for yourself. It is not so that you may be exalted for your own sake, but so that my name may be seen more clearly through you. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." You may not preach from a pulpit. You may not speak many great words. But when others see your peace in the middle of chaos, your generosity in the midst of lack, your kindness in a cold and weary world, they will sense that another presence is at work within you. And that is what I desire, not that your name would be mentioned more, but that through you, people would learn to lift their eyes to me.